open Blender. Then delete the default cube by pressing backspace. File, import. Then choose the file format that you made your character in. Then just find your model. Then click on File, Export. Then choose FBX. Then left click and you can rename it to whatever you want. Then press Export FBX. Then open your project. Then open Content Drawer. Then click on Content. Then right click. New folder. Then you could rename the folder to whatever you want. Then import your model from Blender. Then press Import All. Close the window. Then open your Content Drawer. Then drag your model into your scene. Then it'll just create a render. Please like, subscribe, and
Thanks for watching Raresun tutorials.